Coming up on By the Book, join host Dorothy Spalding and today's leading authors with in-depth interviews, stories, and discussions, offering unique insight into the authors, their influences, and their latest works. Tune in today as Dorothy welcomes Dick Lefty O'Neill. Be sure to watch By the Book.
It's great.
How did you do it?
By the Book.
Where did you find that?
Did you see By the Book?
Yeah, it's a great show. By the Book.
New releases and authors?
I thought it was a great read.
I think I'm going to buy the book.
It's the best.
Did you get it?
You should.
Do it by the book.
The best authors.
New releases.
Let's watch.
By the Book.
Welcome to By the Book. I'm your host, Dorothy Spalding, and you are going to love our next guest. I'll tell you, he is someone who's had a big dream, and he dreamed of the majors, but he's living in the bush. Dick Lefty O'Neill.
Yep.
Now, you were a real baseball player that you dreamed about living in the majors, but what happened?
Well, as every kid dreams that dream, my dream started when I was 5, when my father got us a black box that he called a television in 1954, and I was watching this television, and Whitey Ford was on the air playing for the Yankees, left-handed pitcher, and I turned to my older brother and said, "That'll be me someday."
That you were going to be
That's
like
when
Whitey
I started.
Ford.
I was going to be like Whitey Ford, and I was going to pitch.
What play did he? He a pitcher?
He was a pitcher, left-handed pitcher like me, and I wanted, but my dream was I was going to be the starting pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. Okay, and I was going to take Bob. I was going to be with Bob Gibson and all those guys. So, yeah, it's every kid's dream, you know, a little boy's dream to try to do that, and it's just as my life went along, I was graduating at every level, and it was looking real good. And when I got to my 17th birthday, the Cardinals had been looking at me since I was 15 and asked if I'd try out for them. And as in the book, you'll find out I tried out walking in thinking I was really good. And and when I walked out, I was ready for college.
What happened?
Well, the first guy up,
you walked.
I threw I was just throwing batting practice, and I threw 10 pitches and 9 of them went out of the ballpark. And so I looked up at my dad and I said, "Wait a minute, no one's ever done this to me." And it just got worse as it went along. And after it was over with, the coach for the Cardinals there in Little Rock comes up to me and says, "You know, you'd make a good batting practice pitcher." And I said, "Whoa, that's not what I wanted to hear." So I walked out of the tryout, walked out the parking lot in tears as a 17-year-old boy with my dream completely shattered. And my father looked at me and he said, "Son, what are you crying for?" And I said, "Dad, did you see what they did to me? No one's ever done that to me." And he said, "Son, welcome to professional baseball. These people are paid to hit you." And he said, "Would you please take this scholarship now that I wanted you to take all along?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And so I went ahead and played 4 years of college baseball in Arkansas, and still hoping that dream would come along after college. And the problem with that is that I got a military draft number for Vietnam.
Oh, in those days they drafted
and
you.
mine was 6.
Oh, great.
And I was hoping that when my degree was over with in '72, Vietnam would be over, and it wasn't. So I had to go in, and I chose the Air Force because they let me finish my degree. And when I went in, I was on my way to Saigon, and a sergeant comes in and says, "I heard you used to be a baseball player. Would you consider playing baseball for the Air Force instead of going to Saigon?" And I said, "Sure, where do I sign?"
No problem with that.
So I went and played baseball for the Air Force. Now, while I was playing for them, I pitched against a black team on the Gulf Coast. They were called the Biloxi Dodgers of the Gulf Coast Negro League, is what they called it.
The
Gulf Coast Negro League, and the Biloxi Dodgers was the team, and I pitched against them and beat them. And they asked if I would play with them after our season was over with in May. Their season was over in October. So I said, "Sure." And so I tried out and had to get permission from the Air Force. They approved it, and went out and pitched for them. And there were 3 white guys on the team. And the rest of the league was all black. But it was never an issue to me, because when I got to my first assignment, my instructions was, "Don't wear your military uniform off base because you'll be spit on by the American people." And
Why?
number 2, because it was Vietnam and we were baby killers. They called us all that.
That's horrible.
Well, that's what they called us. And number two, they said, find yourself another job because you're eligible for food stamps. And so I was looking for a place to pay me some money, and when the Negro League was kind enough to let me try out, they paid real well, and they helped me put food on the table. And the color never was an issue, Dorothy. It never was an issue to me. And I was raised in Arkansas in the 50s and 60s where it was an issue, but I had Christian mother and father that said, if Christ saw no color, why are we having such a problem with this? So don't ever grow up, son, thinking what you're hearing here in Arkansas. And so I was prepared.
So
Mom and Dad.
where were these teams?
Well, there was a Gulf Coast Negro League, which went all the way up to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, but primarily Florida, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. That was one league. Then I went on and was reassigned to Lackland Air Force Base, and they also had a South Texas Negro League. And so I tried out and made that team also. And then the uniqueness of the book is that I'm the only white guy that ever played on 2 different Negro League teams on 2 different contracts in 2 different states ever. Well, when I did it, I was just playing baseball.
Just having fun.
I was just having fun, and I did have fun in those leagues. They were great leagues. But the American people, when I tried to tell a story in the 70s and 80s, didn't want to hear this because the history books said that once Jackie Robinson crossed the line in the 60s, the Negro League died. The Negro League major leagues died. But there were thousands of men that continue to play, particularly in the South. If you'll notice, all these teams and all these states I'm talking about are the South, not the East Coast or West Coast. Right, it was the South. Prejudice died a long death down there. And so it was kind of tough. Some of those people didn't want me, playing for them as far as the fans were concerned. Not the players, but the fans, because they were proud of their league. And why would an owner bring a white guy in to pitch?
Oh, so you had trouble with the black people?
Well, on the road I did, but I had 16 bodyguards.
But 16 bodyguards.
My team.
The whole team.
My team.
The team.
They took care of me everywhere I went.
And you're pitching to make them win.
Absolutely. That's why they enjoyed it. The team loved me, but I mean, the people on the road, some of them didn't like me too much, and I got the typical, racial slurs and that Jackie did. And I was experiencing this, Dorothy. I want to remind you, I was experiencing this in 1972, 3, 4, and 5.
Amazing. Amazing, in the 70s.
Yes.
And yet Jackie Robertson, he switched over.
Oh yeah, he went to the white major leagues.
And look at how many today.
And how many went after him. And that's why I think the history book said, well, if they're all going, then obviously there's no league left. Well, there was a league left. And it's just that no one wanted to talk about it, or they didn't think it was a big deal to talk about it. And I didn't either until several of my ball players, they're now in their 90s, asked me to write this book to let people know that they did exist. And so this is a sort of a tribute to them too.
And it was a great thing. It made many people very happy. I mean, it's always fun to watch a ball game.
Oh, we were never, after being in the white leagues for so long, I literally loved the Negro Leagues because it was an event, it was a party. And they always had me pitch on Sundays, so everybody's coming straight from church with their wild outfits on and they're dancing and
their hats,
and all this stuff. And the first time I pitched in San Antonio, the white folks were on the outside of the fence down the first base line and third base line, watching the game, but wouldn't come in. And I'm the starting pitcher, standing there, and they're waiting for me to tip a hat to notice them, that they're there, but they didn't want to come in. They felt uncomfortable coming inside. It's just, that's the way it was in the South, and this is why I'm really proud of the book, because the biggest compliment I got from the black community was, Dick, if we wouldn't have known you, we'd have never known what your color was when you read this book.
And that's how it should be.
That's the way it should be.
Today.
Absolutely. And it took a while for the book to be the right time to publish it. And it was the right time.